Now, the second dot that we must connect is God directing Moses to the mountain to meet him. God is omnipresent. He can meet with you anywhere. So if he is directing you to go to a mountain to meet with him, then obviously there is a reason for it. Because there are two prophets that God specifically directed to go to a mountain and meet with him. Number one was Moses. Now, God directing Moses to the mountain to meet with him. So God directing Moses to meet with him on the mountain. We will find that in Exodus 19, which is chapter 19, verse 3 to 4. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thou shalt say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on the eagle wings and brought you out unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice, which is verse 5, indeed, and keep my covenant, and then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Directing Moses to come meet him on the mountain was intentional. Because aside Moses, there was someone else that God also met on the mountain, which is also someone that did not die and was ascended directly into heavens, which we also know as Prophet Elijah. No one found the body of Moses after his death, and no one saw Elijah dying. And I would have you know that the only two prophets that came to meet Jesus on the mountain at the transfiguration was Moses and Elijah. Our God is the master of the universe, and he rides in time. Only Moses and Elijah met with Jesus on the mountain in the transfiguration of Christ. Thousands of years after Moses, thousands of years after Elijah. And only these two people had a divine encounter with God on the mountain. When God was giving those instructions to Moses, Moses really do not understand. He was just following the instruction. God was making a point all the way. So now we will go to the next part, which was the Spirit of God asking, who shall we send? Using Isaiah as a witness. Now, God himself does not do things without a reason. I'm pretty sure we've already established that. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, 1 to 13, we will open to the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, 1 to 13. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one of them had 6 wings. With twine he covered his face, and with twine he covered his feet, and with twine he did fly. And one cried unto another, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of the host. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the apostles of the door And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand. For people that says no one have seen God, that no one can see God. Yes, no one can see God. No one have seen God in his full glory. But indeed, righteous men of God has encountered the image of God. Our God is the real. Our God is alive. No one knows God in his full glory. That is why Jesus said, no one knows the Father except the Son. But the image of the grace of God, the image of God, is things God has shown to righteous men who have devoted and devoted their lives unto God. So back to the story. Then flew unto me one of the seraphims, having a live coal in his hand, which is verse 6, which he had taken with the tongues from off the altar, and he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, these have touched thy lips, and thy iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, Whom shall I send? And whom will go for us? Then I said, Here I am, send me. You see, what I want you to understand is this from that particular chapter. If God was not going to send Isaiah an errand to the children of Israel, he will not be there in the first place. So being there in the first place already means that he was there for a purpose. When God was asking the question, whom shall we send? He was not speaking to Isaiah, and he was not talking of that very moment in time. Because there is a chapter in the Bible that also said it was Jesus who agreed to go. It was him that laid down his crown and agreed to go forth into the world. 1 minute. We will check for that chapter. We would go to John 6:38, where Jesus said, I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. Now, you will understand that Jesus himself did not sit down to say, I am just... No. It is the will of God the Father. He made the request, who shall we send? Jesus decided to fulfill it. Father, send me, I will go. Isaiah was there as a witness to that particular conversation, not just because God wanted to send him on an errand. God could easily, the same way he has been giving messages to Isaiah, which is coming to Isaiah, speaking to Isaiah, calling out for Isaiah out of the wilderness, speaking to Isaiah. God could have still done that. What was so different about that particular message that made God bring Isaiah into his temple? It was so Isaiah can be a witness to the transactional story of that moment. Not because of what God sent him to tell the children of Israel. Yes, that was important too. But why it was so important for Isaiah to come into the temple and see that glory was to be a witness, was to be able to come back and say this that he has seen, so that we can know that indeed there is a messenger that is above other prophets of God. coming to deliver a message of utmost importance to God.